Never- All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Manhattan Community Board 3's full board meeting for the month of April 2022. I'm Paul Rangel. I'm the chair of the board. I will start with the public session, but before I start with public session, I just want to remind everyone to please sign in the chat with your name and affiliation for attendance purposes and attendance purposes only. The chat is only used for attendance and attendance purposes only, and or technical questions, or if someone from one of the elected officials' offices needs to drop their report or anything of that sort, and or information. That is it. No questions, comments, or concerns are to be relayed on the chat about any specific item, solely for attendance purposes and any technical questions. Thank you. All right, so we are going to move on to our public session, and I am going to start with Battalion Chief Matthew Moog. And I know he's reporting on the fire at 80 Mulberry. You have as much time as you need, sir.
Yes, Matthew Morgan, New York City Fire Department. This is my first Zoom meeting, so you have to bear with me. I'm sorry. I'm not sure where you want me to begin. We had the fire on Mulberry Street. It came in at 3:45. I received the ticket at 3:51. I was the second due chief. The first due chief arrived with the engine and ladder. They transmitted the 1075. That's a working fire in the building. They had fire coming out the window. Lines were stretched. 9 engine had a hand line. They had a lot of fire. They made a very aggressive push. They got into the apartment. They knocked down a lot of fire. Then they had fire coming out in another room. The captain of ladder 6 located the woman early on. He pulled her out, the elderly woman, passed her back, and continued his search. They got the fire knocked down. We had reports of that there was still somebody missing. And then we had to do a very thorough secondary search. We had the fire knocked down, but between the clutter and all the plaster on the ceiling had come down, we located the victim in that front room. And I'm not sure when you ask me any questions about it. I know the alarm, when it was turned in, the 911 call, the home attendant, when she called, she said the room where her attendant was, there was flames in there. So, that's what I read the next day. So it was an advanced fire on our arrival. If anybody wants to ask me questions.
Sure. I'll have some questions for the battalion chief. Carlin, go ahead. Only board members. Go ahead, Carlin.
Yes, hello, Chief. I'd like to thank you and your department for a quick response in containing the fire to prevent a bigger tragedy. I live just down the block, and I arrived on scene around 4:15 that morning. And I just want to say, great job, guys.
Okay. Like I said, a fatal fire, you always feel terrible. When someone dies in a fire, I don't want to say the consolation, but when the alarm came in, it seems that the fellow who died, he was dead before we arrived. That the room was full of fire. I guess if anything could be stressed, it would be the smoke detectors, that there were no smoke detectors in the apartment. I know that sounds like it's not a cure-all, but it really does work, where as soon as the fire starts, that smoke detector goes off and the person wakes up. The victim, when we found him, he was on the floor. There was a set of bunk beds in a room that had collapsed, but he was on the floor. It's a small room. The room couldn't have been more than 8 feet by 10 feet. And, the debris was on him. We had the fire knocked down. They made an aggressive attack on the fire. And since we knew someone was missing, we had to empty the room out, like dig down to the floor and pass. We had no place to put all the debris. We had to have people in the street and pass all the furniture and everything out the window as we searched. So That was I want to say the delay in finding him, but he was sort of buried under the ceiling plaster that had come down. And I don't want to say, when you say clutter, it sounds like you're criticizing the person, but there was a lot of stuff in the room. And when you have a fire, everything ended up on top of him, But I believe he was dead before we even arrived. But like I said, you always feel bad when you have a fatal fire and people die. The woman, when she was pulled out by the captain of Ladder 6, I think she was alive when she got to the ambulance, but she expired while she was in the ambulance. Like I said, the only thing I could stress that would have made a difference at this fire would have been the smoke detectors. It really does give that early alert, and people wake up and they stand a much better chance of getting out and reporting the fire quicker, but getting out, waking up.
Chief, I believe there's 2 more questions for you.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Ms. Yee, Representative Velasquez's office, I believe you have your hand up.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Chief, I'm just curious, do you by chance know the number of tenants otherwise in the building who are displaced by the fire? I assume is the entire building right now not inhabitable due to fire damage, or only a certain number of units?
Okay. I wish I could give you an answer. I'm not assigned there. I was working that night. The chief that was assigned there is working someplace else tonight, and he couldn't go to the meeting. They said they wanted the chief that was on the scene. I know it's a 6-story tenement. The floor we were on, I think, had 6 apartments. So I think there's about 30 apartments in the building. I'm not sure if the people have been allowed to move back in. I know they had heavy fire damage on the fire floor, and on the floor above, we had to open up because the fire was getting into the walls and traveling up to the floor above. The apartments below had a lot of water damage, and we did have a staircase. They have those marble half landings. One of those between the 5th and 6th floor. During the operation, a fireman felt it cracked, and he didn't fall all the way through. They pulled him out, but there's structural damage that way. But I'm sorry, I can't give you an answer. I can call up.
It's okay.
After I feel bad. I feel a little prepared for the meeting. They called me. They said they were looking for a chief who was at the fire. They're like, the first new chief, he's in the street and he's in charge. And then I was the second new chief. They call you the fire sector chief, where you go to the fire floor and make sure everything's going well. If they're getting water on the fire, if they need more line, if things are getting better or they're getting worse, and I can report right to the chief in the street and let him know. But sorry, I do feel ill prepared. I know there's a lot of water damage in the floors below. Whether they let the tenants move back in or not, I'm not sure. I can call up the chief working in that battalion, and he might know if it's occupied. Or get the answer for you, and I can take somebody's number there on the community board, and I can give you a call tomorrow. I'm working tomorrow, and I'm like a covering chief. I worked on the Lower East Side, I work in the Village, and I work in Staten Island and Brooklyn. They have me tomorrow. I'm working again in Staten Island, but I can make some phone calls, and I can give you an answer. I'll get a phone number from somebody there on the board, and I'll
We'll take care of it. Go ahead, Susan.
I was going to say it's not necessary. We can shoot an email to Department of Buildings tomorrow. I don't think they've been let people back in yet, because I did receive a vacate, but nothing else. But that's fine. We can easily get that information. But thank you.
Okay, final 2 comments for the chief, so we can move through the public session. Ricky Wong, go ahead. No. Ricky just took his hand off. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was unmuting myself and taking my hand down.
Okay.
Chief, is it do you know if it's the responsibility of the building to have the smoke detector, or was it the tenant that disabled the smoke detector? And then my second question is that you mentioned clutter. Is this like a case of hoarding, or you don't want to go that far in saying that?
I wouldn't say it was hoarding. These tenements, they're small rooms. There's no closets. I always feel like I'm criticizing somebody when you say like this heavy clutter. It was a lot of stuff in the apartment, but it was not hoarding. As far as the smoke detectors go, when somebody moves in the apartment, the landlord is supposed to supply a working one, and then the tenant is supposed to maintain it. Whether they took them down or they were going years without them, I'm not sure. But the law is when you move into an apartment, the landlord supplies it, and then I think you usually change the batteries. I know when I lived in an apartment, I would just change the batteries every time I changed the clocks. I put the new 9-volt in there. I mean, the smoke detectors are getting better and better. They have batteries that last 5 years, 10 years. But the landlord is supposed to supply it when a new tenant comes in, and if it's broken, usually if the tenant tells the landlord, it's a small. I think they go for about $30 now, the good ones. So it's really not shouldn't be a big expense for anybody.
Last question. Thank you, Ricky. Last question, Ms. Olan, go ahead, and that's it. Thank you.
Yes, 2 questions. What was the date of the fire? And is the fire department still in, or is it Red Cross that's installing fire alarms? Smoke detectors, sorry.
I know, the Red Cross isn't required to, but they supply them free to a lot of people. Like
Yeah,
that they have programs that they'll install, even come and install it in your home if you call them up and say you need them.
yes.
But the landlord's supposed to have them in the building. So, like I said, I'm not sure if the people there. Sometimes people take them out because they find them a nuisance because when they cook they go off. But the Red Cross isn't required to, but they sort of voluntarily do it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, what's the date
What
of the
date?
fire?
What date was the fire?
Yeah,
Let me see. Yeah, I have to look at my calendar. It was it a Friday? I'd have to look at the calendar.
It's in the chat. It's April 15th. That was.
thank you.
Thank you.
It was early in the morning. I mean, it was at 3 a.m. I think I went in on Friday night, so I guess it was early Saturday morning. And what was the date? April
15th.
April 15th. And maybe it was early Friday morning. I'm trying. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Well, thank you, Battalion Chief, for coming on. I appreciate it, and answering everyone's questions. And thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
Okay. Like I said, if I feel bad that I feel a little ill prepared. If you want to give me a phone number and I'm working tomorrow, I can find out if the building's occupied again or any
It's
information.
Don't
It's
worry.
okay.
Don't worry
We'll
about
take
it.
care of everything.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Did a
Yes.
good job. Yeah. All
Awesome.
right. So we'll continue with the public session. Linda, if we have the timer on up when you get a chance. I am going to call on the first person I see is Joshua Dean. Is Joshua Dean on?
No, I don't
So
think
he can be unmuted.
I don't think so.
Okay. No Joshua Dean. I'll come back and try again. The next person I have on my list is Tommy Loeb. If anybody has their volume on, please mute yourselves. So there's a lot of feedback coming in. Thank you. Tommy Loeb, you have 2 minutes, sir. Is Tommy on?
He's on. I think he has to unmute himself. Okay, I did. I hit allowed.
Okay,
Tommy?
I unmuted myself.
Okay.
First of all, are there only a few board members present now? It seems to me it's kind of disrespectful for us to have public session and have less than 10 board members present at the time.
Can you stick to the topic, sir? Thank you.
No, that's a comment, and the topic is, that's my topic, because my topic is oversight by the community board and the lack of oversight on ESCR. And I want to call the attention to the board that we have been lied to consistently by the DDC. And the fact is that, for example, when we uncovered the value engineering report, we had to go to court. When we recently found out that the DDC is going to uncover the Con Ed lines, which was the primary reason for denying the community plan, and they're going to redo the Con Ed lines, adding time, an unknown amount of time to the project. We also recently found out that they're going to close a lane on the FDR Drive. One of the other principal reasons they said that the community plan could not be done. The FDR Drive will have one lane closed northbound, and it will be closed for truck traffic only. There will be no cars on that lane. So the last issue we have is air quality and health issues. Recently, the board was notified that excessive lead has been found in some of the digging areas of the project. And as far as we know, it has not been mitigated, and we've been unable to get hazardous toxic waste reports. They tell us now that we have to foil them. How outrageous is it for the community to have to foil air quality and hazardous waste reports when we know previously from their own reports that there's lead, there's arsenic, there's mercury, and other hazardous materials in that site? This is incredibly disappointing that the board has not taken a more aggressive oversight role. And I'm going to urge that you have a public hearing as soon as possible so that both the whole board, the new board, and the community has an opportunity to speak at length about this issue. And that goes to the elected officials who are present also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, the next person I have on my list is Ali Ryan. Is that person on? Please, no comments in the chat, please. Thank you. Just attendance
I
only.
don't think she's on.
She's not on.
I don't think so.
I'll call back. Just check. Next person I have on the list is Harriet Hirschhorn. Hirschhorn. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I apologize.
Yes, she's here. She needs to unmute.
Hi, yeah, you are saying that incorrectly. It's Hirschhorn. So I'm going to read my comment because I'm not used to this. I just want to say that to accept the rejection of children and all people from this vital urban forest upon which so many, including animals and other forms of life, have relied on for health and survival is wrong on so many levels, and it's not trivial. Our lives are not trivial. I see an obese child struggling on a new large tricycle on a narrow sidewalk in front of Vladeck houses, asking his father if he can stop now. The father says, no, keep going. This is a dedicated father who understands that his son must exercise. A mother of a chubby girl approaches the man and asks where he purchased the oversized tricycle. Thumbs up sign, this is what she'll do for her daughter. Children need exercise and fresh air and time to run and play outside under trees. When you play, you don't feel like you're getting exercise. You're just having fun. They had all of that at the park you voted to be deforested, reduced to rubble and wood chips. Now, as they emerge from this pandemic, addicted to their devices, anxious and overweight, there is nowhere to go. The ESCR sacrifices this generation's childhood for fictitious children of future generations. Why don't these children's lives right here, right now matter? Because they're real. There is a 91-year-old Holocaust survivor who went into this park every day, weather permitting. She called it her sanctuary. Why doesn't her life matter to all of you? And this is not trivial. You approved urban deforestation of land that the community enjoyed, that enhanced our lives, that we relied on for physical and mental health. Now, 4.5 months later, there is no construction. Holes are dug and trees are killed. The only thing being built is a wooden hut so that workers can rest in the shade now that they cut down all the trees. The obvious lack of any real construction happening has fueled the community's skepticism about what this plan really is. A majority now assume that this is about real estate and development. This is on all of you. You need to fix it.
Thank you. Let me just stop the clock. Next person I have is Laura Thomas.
Hello, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to address the board. I moved back to the neighborhood after some time away for work, and it was shocking to see what had transpired in my absence. Beautiful, mature, old-growth trees reduced to rubble. When I joined peaceful protests on site, I was beyond being horrified to see the destruction of the trees and the loss of the amphitheater. It was alarming to see the absence of care taken by the workers in complying with OSHA regulations. I can provide specifics if the board would like. When looking online for things that could explain to me what had happened to reduce this place to a deforested wasteland, I couldn't find much. And I thought that was strange. And I took it to the New York Public Library and used some of the world's best librarians to help me. And they couldn't find much that was public, which I thought was very strange. And it's disconcerting. And I would urge, as several of my neighbors have, that public hearings be held about this issue so that those of us concerned neighbors who wonder what happened to the trees and what has happened to our park and how we're going to maintain a decent quality of life in this neighborhood. I'll just point out also personally that I'm a World Trade Center survivor. So are many of the people in the homes closest to the park where the trees are cut down. We have a higher than usual incidence of certain cancers, as well as hyperreactive airway syndrome, asthma, and a host of other respiratory diseases that are slightly mitigated by the presence of the trees that you've cut down. And I think this is profoundly and disturbingly disrespectful to the people who lived through that nightmare in New York City and are now trying to get on with their lives as healthily as possible after that. And again, responsibility rests squarely at the board level for many of these things. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Catherine Freed.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, hi, good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Hi, Susan, long time no
Hi.
see.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so I've lived in this neighborhood now almost 18 years. I live on Grand Street, 1 block from the FDR Drive and 1 block from the former park site. And I'm not going to go into how horrifying it is to not have a park out there anymore, but what I am going to say is that trying to get any kind of information out of the city about the air quality is impossible. They are stonewalling us. I've listened to the CAG meetings, I've listened to your park meetings, and they're telling us nothing. I've looked at parts of the EIS. It's clear that there are a lot of heavy metals out there, including lead, arsenic, mercury. These are all devastating to people's health. And as there's nothing out there now but a vast wasteland that they're digging in, that they leave piles of dirt that blow around. I've seen the dirt. You can see during windy days, you can see the dust from these piles blowing inboard. And we don't know what we're breathing. And I too am a World Trade Center, I hope, survivor. And I have a continuing respiratory problem because of that debacle. And yet I moved from there to here. And once again, we're being faced with being stonewalled by the city and by the various agencies and the contractors who are supposed to tell us what is out there and what we're being subjected to. And much like the World Trade Center, they're not telling us anything. So I'm going to call on this community board that voted for this plan to do their duty for us and ask them to come to a full board meeting, report to us exactly what's out there. The idea that we have to do a FOIL request when they are responsible for giving us this report, and it was part of what they promised this board when this board voted for that plan. So please call them into a public session and make them answer some questions. We don't know what's out there. People down here have high asthma rates. We had a high COVID death rate in the two local area zoning areas. And we don't know what we're being subjected to, and it's your responsibility to find out.
Thank you, Ms. Freed. Final speaker before I call back anybody else that I saw before that didn't respond is Rita G.
Hi, yes. So I'm really just trying to understand why Carlina Rivera, the DDC and ESCR project make no real genuine attempts to understand the community's concerns. All I hear when I talk to them are individuals who feel backed against the corner, who are told to read a script to us on the benefits of ESCR. And instead of empathizing and listening to the constituents who are really on a daily basis, seeing their park destroyed bit by bit, day by day. I'm just an ordinary citizen. I'm trying to understand this very complex project. I wasn't hired by Carlina's office or paid off NYCHA step. I'm just this ordinary person who wants to understand why our park is getting destroyed and why no one will take the time to explain it to us, to guide us through the construction interruptions, to guide us through the air quality concerns that we have. The park is getting destroyed. Okay, I see on social media, everything gets attention, how beautiful their park is, yet our park is destroyed. Summer is coming, we have no shade. Part of the mitigation was extra recreation space. There is nothing. I mean, you're cutting all of our trees. The squirrels have nowhere to go. The animals are going crazy. So as a park goer, I feel unsafe. I'm worried about my health. No one is doing a thing. Other cities are thinking more progressively. Why is New York City behind? Engineers, architects, urban planners, officials all over the world are seeking ways to retrofit and reconstruct cities to better deal with water, right? Around the world, we're moving away from traditional hard infrastructure, flood barriers, concrete walls, and towards solutions that mimic nature. They're building green roofs, parks, wetlands. These are sponge cities. Why can't New York City turn the page, turn around? And this is what I'm asking, the same as Catherine. Please call them to a public session. Please help them talk to us and let's communicate so that we do not feel abandoned by our peers, by our community, by our city. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to the two people that didn't respond. Joshua Dean.
Not here.
Still not here. Okay. Ally Ryan.
Not here.
All right. Thank you. That will be it for our public session tonight. I only had about 8 speakers signed up as of 2 p.m. this evening and this afternoon, and that's when I got the public speaker forms. Okay. Thank you. I will be moving on to the elected official reports. I will start with Mayor Adams. Again? Okay. No Mayor Adams. All right. Public Advocate Jumaane Williams, his office. 0 for 2. It's baseball season. All right. Controller Brad Lander, his office. 0 for 3 is not a good day at the plate. I see Trisha. Borough President Levine, I'm 1 for 4. Go ahead, Trisha.
Hi, guys. It's been really nice to meet you all. I'll take that 25% call. I'm really excited to be here tonight. My name is Trisha Shimamura. I'm the Director of Community Affairs, and this is the first time that I've been able to meet CB3. So it's really nice to meet you all. Up until the day I took this job, I was the Parks Chair for CB8, just a little north of you guys. Served on my own community board for over 10 years. I loved it, and I really appreciate the work that you all are doing. So it's really wonderful to take advantage of the fact that my colleague Eric Quillo is enjoying some time off and be able to meet you all this evening. A few things that I just wanted to give you a heads up about. So first and foremost, the borough president submitted testimony in the city's budget just a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 weeks now, regarding the Department of Sanitation, Transportation, MTA, and Parks. In particular, just want to note that since I just told you I was the Parks Chair, that our entire budget allocates less than 0.5% of the budget to the entire park system. And what we're asking is to increase that number to 1%. I want to give a shout out to Paul and to all the other chairs of the community boards in Manhattan attending our last borough board meeting. We took your resolutions that you've been passing on the budget and on your budget priorities and put together a summary statement that highlights the priorities for the borough, including affordable housing, parks, open space, mental health services, access to tech, and so much more. And we're really happy to pass that statement, and we'll be submitting it to the city. Additionally, just to give you an update on housing very quickly, there are over 200,000 pending eviction cases in New York City Housing Court right now. The BP went to Judge Janet DiFiore last month, asking for the Office of Court Administration to only schedule court cases where tenants are being actually represented from an attorney and match legal service providers' capacity. They did not do that thus far, so we are continuing to fight on behalf of tenants. Unfortunately, groups like Legal Aid Society, the Legal Assistance Group, NILAG, Legal Services NYC have all said that they are at capacity and unable to take new cases. So we are fighting to again get the courts to stop taking cases where tenants do not have a legal representation. The borough president has been at the forefront of COVID, particularly focused on making sure that we do not go backwards. And as we see numbers rising, he's been really focused on how we make sure that COVID is managed, that our numbers are managed, and has come up with this plan called Stay Healthy to Stay Open. The idea is that this plan is very detailed, focusing on our low booster rates. Right now, I think the last numbers I saw was that we were at a paltry 36%. If you haven't had your booster, please, please, please do so. He's been giving out COVID safe bags, which are not just which don't just include home testing kits, but they also include temperature monitors, oximeters, masks, and so much more. He's been calling out on every public building to mandate mask wearing, and also calling for better data with an eye towards equity, looking at communities that are hard hit, that have been hard hit during the first and second waves of COVID, and continuing on. So please keep a lookout from our office. We're continuing to do these passing out of these COVID safe bags, and take a look further at the plan online. Finally, I want to talk to you about something that's very near and dear to me, and I know Susan and Paul have heard me talk about this nonstop, but you may have noticed or may have heard that we're still on Zoom for the time being. In the state's budget, they passed language on open meetings and what that means for community boards. And basically, the long and short, and apologies, Susan and Paul, you've heard me say this probably 5 times at this point, but the long and short is that the state for the next 2 years is going to allow community boards and other groups similarly to meet hybrid, to operate in a hybrid fashion. And they define hybrid as meeting a quorum of in-person board members. So if you have 50 board members, having 50% plus 1, that's 26 board members in person. And then the rest of the members can then participate virtually, as well as members of the public. So in order to make this happen, you would have to pass a resolution and have a public hearing on open meetings, and then pass that resolution on the rules that you want to follow during this time. And then following the end, this kind of grace period of up until June 8th, then you can start operating in a hybrid fashion. This is honestly not exactly where we hoped that we would land, but certainly I think a step in the right direction. The idea that board members can participate virtually in meetings and have their votes count is something that's never been done before. This grace period going through June 8th is something I'm sure that everybody appreciates. I know I certainly do. If you saw me from the waist down, you'd see that I'm 7 months pregnant. So I appreciate the ability to do this, to meet all of you virtually at this moment. And we're going to be working with you every step of the way to try to make sure that you have what you need and the resources that you need in order to really get in a place that you feel comfortable holding your meetings. So this is actually going to start just this Friday. We have Borough Service Cabinet. We're going to be focusing really intensely on giving all boards some sample language that you could use to pass your resolutions, should you choose to do so. We'll be continuing to advocate with our state elected officials on trying to tweak this to make it even more flexible for our boards. And if you have any questions from you, or if Paul or if Susan has questions, or anybody in your office, They all have at this point my cell phone number and my office number and my email, and we've been communicating pretty frequently, I'd say, about this one. So with that, I'll leave it at that, and we'll take some questions, but it's really, again, lovely to meet all of you, and I look forward to hopefully meeting you all safely in person one day.
Yeah, I see two hands, Trisha. I see Susan, and then I see Valentina. Susan, and then Valentina.
Yeah, I think we all, before people have expectations, we have to clarify that we don't have the technical means to have the hybrid meetings at this point, unless it's a very small meeting in the office.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. And I should have said that from the beginning. Everything that the BP has put his name onto has, with regards to open meetings, has always, I dare you to look at all the op-eds and all of the things that he's put out, has always said with the caveat that we need to really resource our community boards. And that means just not manpower, but technology. That means looking at trying to advocate for venues that also work for this as well. So certainly that's something that we have been continuing to fight for on the city's budget level. We're still fighting. Even now, it's 7 o'clock and I still have staffers in the budget side who are fighting for more resources for our community boards. So it's something that we take really seriously. And like I said, I served on my own board for years, and I know just how hard our staff works and our board members.
Okay, thank you. I see 3 hands. Now that'll be it, because it goes to some of the other elected officials. Valentina, go ahead first.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank you and Mark Levine for your work in terms of looking at this whole thing from a health perspective and going from a health perspective and not from an economic perspective. So I really thank you for the stay healthy, stay open, the high quality mask. I just think that you're on target from a health perspective and from a public health perspective for people. So thank you very much for all of your work.
Thank you so much. The BP is, this, he's been focused on this. He was the health chair in the city council. This is his primary focus. I will just say, if you or anybody else needs sanitizer, if they need masks, if you even need home health kits, they are going quick, but just give me a heads up. We've been able to, particularly if you're part of a nonprofit organization, or if you have access to a community that doesn't have access to those really critical services and really critical PPE, just give me or give Eric a call, and we'll try to do our best to really help you guys get what you need.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan, go ahead. I see your hand.
Miss Kaplan, well, very distinguished. I'll sit up a little straighter with that. I'm just asking for an update on the appointment of new members to the community boards, both from a timeline perspective and just status in general.
Yes, thank you for asking that. So aside from spending my evenings talking about open meetings law and driving my husband insane, I spend my days talking about community board appointments. So if you have reapplied this year, if you are applying for the first time, then you've probably seen me on a Zoom before. We've been very busy trying to get through some record high numbers of applicants. I said the end of April, and the truth, and now I have to say we're going to be a little delayed, but it's technically not my fault. But we're hoping to get final appointments done by the first week of May. That is my hope. I just got done talking to our deputy borough presidents about this right before jumping on this call. So we are just finishing up the process. If you are a member of the board, or if you've done this before, or haven't done this before, I will just say that we also receive nominations or recommendations from our council members. So we're right now meeting with our council members in order to get their recommendations in, and have just about finished up reading and reviewing and then rereading and doing all of our interviews for about 900 applicants throughout the entire borough. So we're really happy about the number, really excited about the applications, and you should hear from me regardless of what happens. Everybody will be hearing from our office. My hope is the first week of May. So that's a hope, not a promise, but we're really working hard on it, I promise.
Thank you. Ms. Kazi, stay consistent.
Okay. So So thank you for joining us tonight. Here is my question. The borough president, especially in his previous capacity, had been such a strong voice for COVID issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I'm a mother of two that are in the public school, and we have a serious problem with the lack of guidance. You know that the cases went up again, but there is no masking mandate, and there is no recommendation for people that the rest of the family may be sick to mask up. Well, I'm not saying to stay at home, but at least mask up, right? And it has put a lot of us, and I also serve on the Parent Association, it puts so much pressure in individual families and individuals when we don't have luck from government, right? And it shouldn't be like that. So I would hope that you can use your pulpit to counter what is lacking from DOE right now and what is creating a lot of tensions within families in the various schools. And that's like, we've been through a pandemic. We don't need this as an added problem.
Sure. And thank you for your question. And I too am a parent, and I understand your frustration and fears there. So I will definitely bring this back to the borough president's office. And certainly we have a whole education policy team that is talking about this. Like I said, this is something that he is laser focused on, and truly he doesn't go a day without talking about these COVID guidelines. I will just point out, what I've been actually finding really helpful has been following the BP on his Twitter account, which is not something I normally don't recommend Twitter, but in this case, he uses his voice more often than not to really reiterate guidelines for these things and just give people a lot of more clarity. I agree with you that more clarity is needed, but the stuff that is out there is really helpful. And I find myself a lot going to his Twitter just to make sure I know exactly what's going on and make sure I know exactly what has been said by the various city and state agencies. He's been like just superhuman when it comes to that sort of stuff, but I will take it back to the BP, and I appreciate your comment.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. My camera is not working anymore. We'll move on. Thank you, Trisha. I appreciate you coming on tonight and answering our questions. I do see our council member Rivera is on. I apologize. I didn't see you earlier, but go ahead. The floor is yours.
Oh, all right. Thank you. I know I also saw State Senator Kavanaugh, but sorry, Brian, they called me first. So hello, everyone. I'm so thankful to be here with you all. It's been a really interesting day in the city council. So today the mayor revealed kind of his executive budget, his fiscal year 2023 executive budget. My team and I are actively reviewing what was put out. There wasn't a ton of detail in the beginning of the day, but just to let you know, our top priorities include improving access to health, mental health and safety, investing in a cleaner and greener New York City. That includes robust sanitation services and composting programming restored completely, protecting housing opportunities for New Yorkers, and investing in homeless services. I know our community has been through it when it comes to the city interacting with unhoused people and people living on the streets, and supporting fairness and equity in the justice system, as well as making sure that we're taking care of our schools and our young people, especially with the summer approaching. Legislatively, I actually introduced a housing package. I believe it was last week. I was proud to introduce a package of housing bills, including legislation around lead safety, warehousing of apartments, and the reintroduction of the Community Opportunity to Purchase Act, which would hopefully incentivize affordable housing development. That's something that I introduced last term. We made a few tweaks and improvements, I think, and reintroduced. And I think it's a really important bill considering the housing crisis that we're facing, really on the heels of a public health crisis as well. In the past month, we've worked really closely with this board, and I want to thank you all for your compassion and your patience. One on bias and hate crimes. We hosted an interfaith roundtable, my team and I, a bystander intervention training, a Stop Asian Hate Day of Visibility with the New York Commission on Human Rights. These are part of a continued focus on community-based public safety and making sure that we're all stepping in to stop bias and hate crimes. I know that it's a very sensitive topic, so if anyone has any questions about this, our office is open to answer those questions. And then I guess I'll leave some time for questions. I know one of the things that we've been dealing with are the sweeps, the mayor's sweeps. My colleagues from around the city have stood up, I have as well, to stop the sweeps, to ask the mayor to cease them right away. I think they're clearly unproductive. I think they actually have proven to be more harmful than anything else. I know that there is no silver bullet for a lot of these issues, but we do have the tools at our disposal to make changes now that will have an impact. So today, as the executive budget, was released, and there was some investments to the tune of about 171 million in safe haven beds. I still think that we have not really seen a plan to actually accelerate the creation of affordable housing, and of course the preservation. As we know, a lot of our affordable housing is not in good repair. I mean, if you look at our NYCHA units. Some other things we've done: a 14th Street walkthrough with the community board. I want to thank all the agencies that were there with those ongoing issues, and actually still working on the Charas issue. I know that it's a saga, and it has been for decades at this point, but I am working with SOC 64 and elected officials to communicate the history of Charas and what potentially the future of it could mean for us. I realize, with the private owner, Greg Singer, and the foreclosure and everything else that has been going on, we still don't have a lot of details, but we surely know that we want to return that community center to us for some sort of community use, something that can fully realize its potential. So with that, I guess I could take some questions if people like. What do you think?
Sure. Michael, is that your hand up? Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Hi, Carlina. How are you?
Hi. I miss you, Michael. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. It's been a very long time. You, me, and Frank need to have dinner soon.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to text you about that.
Okay. I just wanted to touch base. I don't know how long you've been in the meeting, but most, if not all, of our public comments today were relating to the ESCR project and lack of oversight, issues around dirt piles being left uncovered, and soil testing and air quality and stuff like that. So I wanted to see if you had any comments about what's going on with ESCR and where you stand with the project now.
Yes, absolutely. I did hear some of the public commentary. I understood where people were coming from. I'm also very frustrated with the city. If anyone, there is no doubt that I think transparency from the city is lacking, and that we are doing our best to make sure that we are, we're fully committed to seeing the project through in the way that we all envisioned. For those who are not clear, ESCR is very personal to me. The park will have the same footprint as today with more features, and it has support in the community. I remember when this plan went through, there were so many people at the table, including community board chairs, district leaders, NYCHA TA leaders, the Stuytown president, Regional Plan Association, Rebuild by Design, the New York League of Conservation Voters, Solar One, Lower East Side, the FAB, multiple local sports and youth leagues. So I think for anyone to say that there isn't community support is actually misinformation and misleading. I will tell you that, going forward with some of the construction and of course oversight, and that's something that we take very, very seriously. I'm still working with Councilmember Powers and of course Councilmember Marte to answer any questions that you have. I think there was a concern about air quality monitoring. I'll try to get that information, for Community Board 3 if you don't have kind of the latest update on that. And I will also say that the Community Advisory Group is currently still meeting. That is a group of a diverse set of individuals meeting along with the Pratt Center to really just kind of continue to provide input on the project going forward. So I hope that answers your question, Michael. I don't know if you wanted something specific, but I will make sure that for any of the claims that individuals have, that we follow up every single time. We don't want anyone to feel unsafe. And I really did appreciate the advocacy around lead, for example. As you know, I've passed multiple pieces of legislation around lead remediation, especially in our NYCHA homes. And I think NYCHA was mentioned in some sort of story that I didn't quite understand, but I'm grateful for that advocacy, and I hope to see it along just going forward as a unit through the community and advocating for people that really need our support. So if there are any other specific questions on that, I'm happy to answer them now, or you could always follow up with my office.
Two hands up, Councilmember. I have Kay Webster and then Susan. Go ahead. Okay.
Hi, Carlina. Thank you so much. Good to see you. I think the issues that I keep hearing, and I do encourage everyone to read all the resolutions that were written regarding this with the help of our electeds. But I think the issues that we keep bouncing up against are the issue of transparency. And then also, if there's any way you could help us get the officials that could answer very sharp questioning from the community about the issues like lead, et cetera, and happy to send those to you. Somebody from the Parks Department who would have the authority to answer questions. I think, the answers may not be liked, but it would go a long way, I think, towards, because as you know, in the advisory group, not everyone can ask questions. And I think this is people's shot at actually hearing from the people who know. So anything you can do for that, that would be great.
Absolutely. Susan, did you want to weigh in on this, or you want to ask me a different question?
It's actually about transparency too, but more general. So the city, it isn't just one agency. The city agencies are getting more opaque by the day. They have brick walls put up, and to the point where it's ridiculous. They're asking the community board to foil information that's absolutely public. And there are laws about MOUs that are supposed to be publicly posted on the government website, and just a lot of information. And I think it would be great if the city council could hold the agencies in general accountable for what they are making public and what documents are posted. I asked for an MOU that I'm absolutely positive should have been posted, and I had to do what I have to do to finally get it. And then they tried to keep me secret, and it was such a stupid thing. It was the MOU between NYCHA, the police, and DHS on being able to go on NYCHA property. It was nothing confidential, and they tried to make a big secret of it. It's ridiculous, and I just really am advocating for city council to do some oversight.
So thank you, and I'll answer Kay's question as well. When it comes to foiling, clearly that's been like a very, very big problem. Reporters also ask the city council all the time, city council members, for information from the administration, because they too have to foil data. I remember I went through this with even health and hospitals in trying to get information to exercise my role doing oversight over the H&H system. So I agree that it is stupid. It's a waste of everybody's time and energy. For some of the information that's being requested that you all are not getting, two things. One, if you haven't already contacted my office about something specific, please do. But we will generally work on some of the things that Kay mentioned with air quality and getting agency kind of heads or people with the authority to answer your questions to come in and do some sort of presentation update for you all. I think that's a perfectly reasonable request, and it was made so nicely, and I appreciate it. So we will work on that for you. And again, if there's anything specific that you're not getting, please, please let me know. I will tell you, this is a new administration that we're just getting to know. And we had issues with transparency and kind of being misled and lied to in the last administration. I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic with this one, though clearly there are things that I don't agree with so far as the things the mayor and the mayor's office has been doing. I hope that we could all agree on that information to the public and building trust between government and the public is absolutely important and tantamount. So with that, thank you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Susan, for letting me know about the NYCHA police and DHS MOU. So silly. And thank you for the time, everyone. I really appreciate it. I see some of my colleagues are here and I know that they've been working hard in Albany. So I just wanted to thank you guys.
Thank you, Councilmember. I appreciate it. All right, so we're going to move on to other elected official reports now. Senator Kavanaugh has been patiently waiting. Go right ahead, Senator Kavanaugh.
I'm happy to wait, and I always learn a lot from listening to Councilmember Rivera. Thank you, Mr. Rangel. So just the big thing that's happened in the past month since we last met is the state budget. Of course, we passed it about 8 days late, which is late by recent year standards and would have counted as early a few years further back when we used to take many months over time to do that. But it's a very generous budget. It's $220 billion budget. It includes large increases in a variety of things that we really care about. It's the largest infusion of money into K through 12 education, as well as very large increases in SUNY and CUNY funding. We're on the second year with K through 12. We're in the second year of 3-year plan to fully fund what's called foundation aid. It's the basic aid that tries to make the funding throughout the system equitable, and is a $2.1 billion increase this year for a total of $31 billion. We also did, again, significant increases in both operating costs and capital expenditures for SUNY and CUNY. We've got a very substantial increase in childcare, $7 billion over 4 years. We do it over 4 years because, as more people take up, the out year costs are higher than the immediate costs. But again, very big new investment, making more families eligible and really doubling the state support for that. I chair the Housing Committee, as some of you have probably heard from prior presentations. And it is a pretty, again, very generous budget on housing. Is a total of $8 billion in funding for housing, including $5.5 billion in new capital expenditures and $2.5 billion in operating subsidies. Many things go into $5.5 billion in the capital. Locally, I would highlight that we secured $350 million in capital for NYCHA, which is far less than we need, but also the largest number that the state has ever provided. So, $350 million will be very meaningful for some important renovation projects that'll get funded through that. But obviously, we have to continue to work to find ways to make NYCHA whole. And we have, in recent months, been dealing with almost weekly major outages of public housing developments in CB3 and in our districts. There's also new money to support Mitchell-Lama co-ops and also potentially some new homeowner opportunities there. We also added money to our program to subsidize the conversion of hotels to permanent housing, something we created last year. There were some disappointments. I think a lot of you have heard me talk about the Housing Access Voucher Program, which I think is really the best, most immediate way we can provide additional permanent housing for homeless families and individuals. And that was, we got very broad support. We got very close to doing it. We got great support from our assembly colleagues as well. But it was not something we got done, which means I will continue to fight relentlessly for it until we persuade the governor and the budget director to do that. There was talk about doing All Electric Building Act and some other things. Maybe I'll let Harvey talk about our bills to improve, to make safe some of the ADUs in the city and some other things. But we've been working closely on doing that post budget. And just looking forward, again, we have till June 2nd, till the end of the session. I'm working very hard again on all electric buildings and also on a bill that I moved out of the housing committee today that would facilitate hotel to permanent housing conversions. We've put money up, but we think there are ways we can change the regulatory structure to make that easier. And the city is joining us in pushing for that. I also introduced a bill in the last couple of days to address something we really tried to address in the budget, which is the fact that public housing and other subsidized developments are not eligible for the emergency rental assistance program until all other needs have been met. And in a program that's oversubscribed, that means basically none of that money has flowed to NYCHA or other public housing developments around the state. Those provisions are put in the program at the insistence of the prior governor. And I've got a bill to repeal those, and I'm hoping to get that done by June 2nd. And again, that'd be a significant opportunity for tenants in NYCHA to get out of under the arrears that have piled up, and obviously additional infusion of cash for NYCHA. Just on local stuff, I'm glad that Two Bridges Community Coalition, Community Advisory, I forget what that body is named, but I guess we'll be talking about it more, but I'm glad it's been appointed. I know that CV3 had consultation on who's on that along with city planning. We're also, the process for the Chinatown DRI is moving forward. This is something that stretches across a couple different community boards. We pushed for an extension of the original deadline for proposals, which was set at April 8th. We heard from a lot of folks that they hadn't heard about that. So we extended it, we got it extended to April 30th, which of course is now coming around. So if people have an interest in proposing projects for that area, again, some of which is in the CV3 area, that date's coming around fast. If our office can help facilitate that, please reach out to us. We also have just had, again, I mentioned before, but a lot of work trying to keep basic systems in public housing in particular working through the weekends to try to get NYCHA to repair heat and water and other things. It's a very difficult situation for a lot of folks. And we are begun the season of community fairs. We're very happy to get out into the community more and get information out. We were out, I had a number of stops out on Saturday, including Berwick Houses Community Fair. We look forward to doing more in person out in the community. So I think I'll stop there, and I'm happy to take questions if you have time for them, or if you want to keep going, that's fine too.
No, thank you, Senators. Any questions for Senator Kavanaugh? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Senator Kavanaugh. Not so much a question, but I did want to thank you for pushing the hospital closing bill in the Senate. That's all.
Great. Yeah, there's a lot we're trying to do before June 2nd. That is on our priority list as well. So thank you.
All right, nothing else. Thank you, Senator, for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
All right. I see Assembly Member Epstein is on as well. Sorry, you're the third in line. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I know it's a busy day, and we're still in session up here in Albany. We're debating our Earth Day package of bills. Right now, we're trying to ban cryptocurrency mining in New York State, and so we'll be voting on that in the next hour. So know that you're a Assembly member, at least for me. I'm be voting to ban cryptocurrency mining, which basically these mining plants in New York State would take up as much as the power of 750,000 homes every single day. And so if we don't do this, we're gonna, we already have an energy crisis, and we're happy to, fight for our Earth Day package of bills. Brian talked a lot about the budget. I don't need to go into that. Things that we're trying to do post-budget. People know the Lower East Side Ecology Center. We're, trying to ensure that in our public parks that we can continue to do composting. We have a bill to allow for composting. Brian and I are carrying that. And we had a briefing, I think, 2 weeks ago that will really allow it to not have to deal with what's called alienation of parkland. And the Ecology Center's been pushing for this, and we're trying to get that done before the end of the year. He also mentioned accessory dwelling units. So I had a bill with Senator Harckham that I know Senator Kavanaugh supported, which the governor put in the budget in January to do a statewide accessory dwelling unit. We know we lost 11 New Yorkers at the end of last year because of people dying in illegal basements. Unfortunately, because of political pressure, the governor removed that from the budget, but left in a city-only amnesty program. And Senator Kavanaugh and I introduced that bill about a week ago. We're having a press conference this Thursday in Queens. And our goal is to allow the city to waive what's called the multiple dwelling law and parking rule, to allow a process to legalize a lot of these tens of thousands of illegal units. And so that's really important to do. You know, we talked a lot about the budget and, you know, we have hopefully some criminal justice issues. We're trying to get past clean slate. It's a really important criminal justice issue we're trying to get done before the end of the legislative session. Like Senator Kavanaugh, there's a lot of bills we're trying to move. We're having Disability Day and some disability bills we're trying to get done next week, as well as other important legislation that we're trying to advance. It's going to be a tough 6 weeks. We have 17 days of session left, and there's a lot of work to be done and hundreds of bills to pass to really improve the lives of New Yorkers. And I'm, you know, a little worried in an election year that we may not be able to pull past really critical bills, but it's our job to keep fighting for them. And I know that our community cares how much, you know, that we care about a lot of these issues. Last thing is, I'll just mention, I know people talking a lot about Tompkins Square Park and the homeless encampments and Mayor Adams' approach to you know, arresting and displacing homeless New Yorkers. Obviously, we want a plan, and that's what we've been working on with people like Senator Kavanaugh, Councilmember Rivera around. You know, we've been meeting with the people who are living in the park. We found one person permanent housing, someone else needs public benefits, someone else needs Social Security. We've been actually providing services. And that's really the approach we need to deal with homeless people in the park, and not the idea of just ripping up their tents and throwing them in jail. We hope to have a better plan with Mayor Adams, and we look forward to working with him as well as our amazing colleagues in government to get that done. And I know you're busy, but I'm happy to take a question or two if you have any. Otherwise, I'm happy to have you go further on your meeting.
Thank you, Assemblyman Susan, and then Kay.
No, I'm sorry.
Wrong, you're just giving a high five? Okay.
No,
Kay,
no,
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna contact Harvey later.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Harvey, I heard you say something about alienation of parkland connected to the Lower East Side Ecology Center. Now, are those connected in terms of them? They are mapped back into the park as we understood it.
So we've had some issues, honestly, with the city saying that alienation applied to composting in parks. So Brian and I, about a year ago, Brian, I think, introduced a bill to guarantee that composting in parkland doesn't require alienation legislation. We've been working on it. We did a briefing, and we're trying to get that bill passed this year. It's one of my priority bills to try to get done before the end of session to ensure that that's not a problem. We've heard from the administration that it is a problem, and we don't think it is. I don't think it requires alienation, but to make it really clear that it's not a problem, we have a bill to try to clarify that.
Thank you.
We want composting. We want the Lower East Side Ecology Center. They're amazing. All right, everyone, have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Assembly Member. I appreciate you coming on.
I dropped the Assembly Members CB3 report in the chat for anyone who's interested.
Thank you. All right. I don't see any other elected officials unless I've missed somebody. If not, I'm just going to go back down to the roster. All right. Congresswoman Velasquez's office.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Ling Xia Yi. I'm the community liaison for Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez. And tonight I want to bring the update about the federal budget, more specifically the omnibus spending bill that was passed by the House and signed by President Biden last month. This bill, funds the federal government throughout the year, through the rest of 2022, and more importantly, this bill provides, is funding a lot of infrastructure investment. Passed under the bipartisan infrastructure bill. For New York specifically, there is a $257 million, over $257 million in funding for specifically for transportation alternative funding. That includes fundings in public transit services, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, traffic flow improvement, congestion management technology, and a pedestrian and a cycling trails. The aim of these funding is to reduce carbon footprint and to put our country on a greener pathway. Additionally, included in the spending package that affects our district is the federal earmark funding. Congresswoman was able to secure over 10 individual grants ranging from $250,000 to $1 million for various district NGOs on spendings that range from workplace programs that range from workplace workforce training, like mental health services, and a legal service, and legal services for tenants facing eviction. And yeah, my briefing is done. Any questions?
Any questions for the Congresswoman office? No? Well, thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. Okay, next person is Congresswoman Maloney's office on, excuse me. Going once, going twice, time sold. Assembly Member News Office.
Hey everyone, this is Amy from Assemblymember Ewing News Office. Just wanted to start it off with a quick reminder. As everyone knows, the Assemblymember recently had COVID. Luckily today she tested negative. So this is just everyone's reminder to stay masked. We always have masks available at our office, and hand sanitizer and at-home testing kits. So please reach out if you need any of those materials. We're more than happy to distribute them, and we have more than enough to go around. So I just wanted to give a quick summary. This past month, the state legislature passed its budget for the fiscal year. It was a brutal process, and the Assemblymember believes that ultimately many opportunities were missed and many funds were misallocated. Namely, she took a stand and voted against those portions of the budget that concerned funding for the Buffalo Bills Stadium. However, there were still many good things in the budget, including a middle-class tax break, a refill of ERAP funds, and thanks to the advocacy of AAPI lawmakers, the inclusion of $20 million for the AAPI equity budget to help combat anti-Asian hate and to uplift the Asian American community. If you're interested in learning more about the budget, or if you need assistance accessing those additional ERAP funds, please feel free to reach out to our office. I'm going to be putting my contact information and our office's contact information in the chat, as well as the CB report once more. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, stay safe and healthy, everyone.
Thank you. No questions. I don't see any hands up. Okay, we're gonna go to the next report. Is Assemblymember Glick's office on?
No, he couldn't. I'm sorry. He couldn't attend.
Okay, thank you. Assemblymember Epstein already went. I guess Chanel, you already dropped the report in the chat, correct? Okay, I think there was some problems accessing it with some of the board members. You may want to resend it.
I'll resend it, no problem.
Thank you. Okay. Senator Kavanaugh already went. I don't know if that office wants to just drop the board report in the chat, or if wants to add any quick additional information.
No.
Nope. Okay. Senator Hoylman's office. Thought I saw Caroline on.
Yep, I'm
Oh,
here.
there we go.
Hi, Paul. Hi, everybody. I'm Caroline Wexelbaum from Senator Hoylman's office. I will try to be brief. I think I'm the last one. I just dropped our report in the chat. A couple of quick updates. The Adult Survivors Act passed the Senate today. That's a similar bill, if everyone remembers, the Child Victims Act, which provides a one-year window for the revival of time-barred civil lawsuits based on sex crimes. So this is the version for people over 18. The Child Victims Act was the version for people under 18. We've talked about the budget a lot, but just a couple of programs that Senator Hoylman advocated for strongly, programs for touring musicians, which Olympia was super involved in, and I congratulate her on her efforts in making this happen. And there's also another new fund for transgender New Yorkers. Senator Hoylman also voted against the bill that funded the Buffalo Bills Stadium. There's also a new bill that Senator Hoylman introduced that would make New York State a safe haven for transgender young people and their families. As many people have probably heard, other states like Texas and Louisiana have been criminalizing not criminalizing guardians who support their children in receiving gender affirming care, which is really bad. Finally, the Gender Recognition Act. I just wanted to give everyone an update that as of June 24th, anyone who identifies as non-binary can have gender X on their New York State driver's license or birth certificate. So you can read more about that in our board report. I'm happy to answer questions. Otherwise, I'll let you move on with your meeting.
Is there any questions for Caroline? Olympia, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just, because he acknowledged the work that we did with the musicians, I also wanted to acknowledge the work that the senator did, because these are people that are hurting, and he took very swift action to help them with this year's budget. So I want to thank you and your office.
Thank you, Olympia. I'm glad we got it done.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else's hand up. All right. Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Marte's office. Are they on?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ariel. I'm from Councilmember Christopher Marte's office. I'm one of the community liaisons. So I have a few updates. So we are trying to pass two legislations currently. One is for 9/11 survivors. A lot of support programs are in place for 9/11 survivors, and which focuses on residents and workers that were downtown on that fateful day. However, school children, teachers, and staff often fall through the cracks. And so we introduced a legislation with support from local principals that will mandate the Department of Education and to start to maintain contact information for those who are impacted and hopefully get them the support that they need. We are also trying to pass a legislation for home attendants and patients. For years, we have been supporting home attendants, leading the fight to end inhumane 24-hour work shifts. So we introduced Intro 175 on their behalf, which will ban these shifts in our city. This legislation will improve the quality of care for patients and the quality of life for home attendants. And also, we have participatory budgeting winners. So thank you for everyone who has voted. 2 weeks we did outreach for a week around the streets, and we collected votes. So we are now, so 3 were selected. One is modernizing PS 42's library with new digital catalog and new furniture. So it's an upgrade for that library. 2 is purchasing 2 science carts for PS 124 filled with tools and supplies for lab experiments. 3, upgrading common space for students at Lower Manhattan Community Middle School to create a better learning environment. Recently, we had a bicycle helmet giveaway, which was last week, I believe. We held our first helmet giveaway with Department of Transportation and gave away over 1,000 helmets. in 4 hours, more than any other event hosted by the previous council member. And last but not least is an update about 7880 Mulberry Street. I heard a few of you talking about that. So we have been working and partnering with small business. We have been working with small businesses and tenants who have been displaced by this fire. And we are, trying to hold the city agencies accountable to make sure that they're working as quickly and safely, so that way we could have the victims return to their home. And we have been, trying to provide them with like housing services. So if anyone knows of any housing options and knows of vacant units that they could share with our office, so that we could share with the victims, please email us. I'm going to provide our information below. Yes, and also I want to give a shout out to Welcome to Chinatown. They're a really awesome organization who has been helping our office with providing necessary services to these victims. So thank you so much. And yes, that will be my update for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Susan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just really quickly, while I have you and Isabel on, I reached out to both of the council offices yesterday, asking you both to help us participate in one of our committee meetings regarding the sweep. So I just wanted to make you aware, and I'll follow up again tomorrow.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Ariel. I appreciate you coming on tonight. Last but certainly not least, and been waiting patiently, the DA's office, DA Bragg's office, Estelle Santiago, please go right ahead.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm here today. I'm the director of Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's Community Partnerships Unit, and normally my colleague Lingzhen Chen covers this meeting, but we had a lot of overlapping meetings tonight, so she's at another meeting, and I'm here on her behalf and behalf of the office. And so I will keep it brief. Some updates from our office. As you may already know, our key priorities are gun violence and preventing gun violence, hate crimes and preventing hate crimes. We've specifically with our hate crimes, back earlier in April, DA Bragg announced the office's plan to expand the hate crimes unit to combat hate crimes across the borough. The unit is led by Unit Chief Hannah Yu. She's the newly expanded unit will include 2 deputy chiefs. We previously had 1, and multiple cross-designated assistant DAs from each trial bureau who will be specially trained to handle these complex investigations and prosecutions. The DA also appointed 2 executive members of his staff to oversee and support the unit. This is the chief of our trial division, ADA Joyce Smith, as well as Chanterelle Sung, who's chief of strategic operations for our office. Together, we're going to increase the unit's proactive investigations and prosecutions, enhance its cultural and linguistic competencies, ensure internal staff and police officers receive specialized training, expand community engagement, strengthen victim services support and advocacy, and enhance partnerships with community-based organizations and other law enforcement agencies. I do want to let you know that victims of hate crimes can call our office at 212-335-3100. You can also call my unit, which is the Community Partnerships Unit, at 212-335-9082. And we also are very focused on working with both small and large businesses to address the increased issue in shoplifting throughout the borough. And we, as you may know, we created a small business alliance a couple months ago, which meets regularly with leadership from all over the borough. And then we have smaller focus groups in different communities throughout the borough. So if you have any small, or we're also working closely with the bids on that. If you know of any small or large business owners who are being impacted by the increase in shoplifting, feel free to refer them to me, and I'll get them connected with the right folks in our office to address this rise in shoplifting. Yeah, and so Lingzhen and myself, we're here to work with you in any way that we can. I see that there's a question as well.
Yes, there's 3 questions, 3 hands. Kay Webster, go ahead first.
Thanks, Estelle. Could you put your information in the chat so that,
Yeah, I did. If you scroll up, I can do it again, but if you scroll up a little bit, I'm in there. I'll do it again.
Thank you. Carlin Chan, go ahead.
Okay, I was about to ask for her information. Yeah, I addressed this with the DA meeting earlier. But are you saying you had a team that would work with the businesses? Because
Yes.
we're losing a lot of big box, well, not big box, but these affordable pharmacies.
Yes.
There's one good slated to be closed sometime in the coming weeks because of shoplifting, and that takes away a viable, affordable, toiletries or whatever, laundry detergent. So I'll send you an email as soon as I get your information. Maybe
Yep.
you can contact the store owner there.
Absolutely. Yeah, please connect me with them. And yeah, we're realizing from meeting with a lot of business owners, the impact that this is having, the kind of trickle effect of this increase in shoplifting. So I would definitely want to talk to anybody who's interested in working with us on this. And you can, Mr. Chan, certainly give me the information for that specific location.
Yeah, it's right across from police headquarters.
Okay, thank you. Lee Berman, I see your hand up.
Hi, thank you. If you can, could you share with us real briefly what you are going to, some of the suggestions that you're going to offer the stores that are being hit daily by
Yes.
shoplifters? For example, those stores, whether they are chains that are hit, whether it's a Target or a Rite Aid or a
Yep.
Duane Reade that are hit at least a dozen times a day.
Yeah.
This has been going on for, more than a year.
Yes.
What are you going to suggest for them?
So first, and I'm also happy to have a follow-up conversation with anybody who's interested to do a deeper dive on this specific topic, but we've been meeting with Target and some of the other bigger businesses as well, and all the bids. And some of the things that we've already done, and we remain in communication with them, is we're starting to look at, sort of the smaller group of people who are causing the most, are taking part most in the most shoplifting cases, and really looking at them. We're also sort of looking at we have one assistant district attorney from our investigations division who's been, in the office for a long time, who's now assigned to look at any kind of organization behind the groups that are doing the shoplifting, because sometimes it may not look like a low-level shoplifting, one person, but it turns out they're affiliated with a larger organized group. So we're looking at that. We also have increased communication between the stores. Again, we originally called it a small business alliance, but it's really with bigger businesses as well. So I have a team of people who are assigned geographically across Manhattan, including Lingzhen. They are now the contact. So the same way, Susan calls us about an issue that's happening in the community, business owners can call us if there's a specific concern they have about an individual or a recent arrest to find out what happened to the case. We are also working together with PD to make sure that those individuals that are the recidivists that are on this list of, sort of having the biggest history with this, that we get contacted when those arrests are made. I will also say that for the sort of lower level first-time offenders, we believe that if we want to try to get them help, just sort of like the same approach to dealing with people who are homeless. If we can, we refer them to programs, and there are social service agencies that are part of the Alliance, because if we can stop it earlier on, the behavior earlier on, we'll all be better for it. So we're kind of taking a balanced approach of if somebody can be helped and move away from this behavior, that's what we want. But if they're part of a bigger organization and they're really taking advantage and impacting the store owners, then we want to prosecute to the fullest extent that we can.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that helps. And again, I'm happy to talk to people more about this topic. There's a lot going on that I can't summarize that quickly in this call.
Okay, thank you. I see one more hand. Go ahead, Michelle.
Thanks. I just had a question about what happened on Delancey Street last week, that the store owner stabbed a kid in the chest. And it was initially reported as just like a stabbing, but it turned out that it was a store owner going after a 16-year-old kid who allegedly had shoplifted. Is there anything that you can update on us there?
I can't speak about an open case, but I can go back and find out what kind of public information I can bring back to the board and share that with Susan.
Thanks, because I hope that we don't feel like resorting to vigilante justice, which is certainly what it seemed like happened there, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I don't see any other hands up. Thank you, Estelle. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Paul.
Sorry you're the last person up, but
All
thank you.
right, I learned a lot on here.
Thank you. All right, that is it for our elected official reports. So I'm going to do something before we go into the roll call and the approval of minutes for February. I'm actually going to shut off the chat. I'm letting you all know ahead of time. There's been some incidents already on this specific meeting tonight with the chat. So I'm giving everybody a heads up that I am shutting off the chat for the remainder of the night so I can prevent any more derogatory language being used and whatnot. Thank you. And we can go to roll call for an approval of minutes of February 2022. Thank you.
David Adams.
Oh, yeah.
Jaren
Yes.
Altman.
Yes.
Jesse Beck.
Yes.
Lee Berman.
Yes.
Carlin Chan.
Yes.
Jonathan Chu. David Crane.
Yes.
Eric Diaz. Tariq Terrell. Alistair Economics.
Yes.
Jamie Felber.
Yes. Sorry.
It's okay. Shirley Fantasy.
Yes.
Ryan Gilliam.
Yes.
Deborah Glass.
Yes.
Andrea Gordillo.
Yes.
Canel Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman Hewitt.
Yes.
Trevor Holland.
Yes.
Linda Jones.
Yes.
Valentina Jones.
Yes.
Lisa Kaplan.
Yes.
Olympia Kazi.
Yes.
Jeanette Kim.
Yes.
Michelle Cooper Smith.
Yes.
May Lee.
Yes.
Wendy Lee.
Yes.
Alicia Lewis Coleman. David Louis.
He's out.
Myself, Laura. Ellen Lewell. Michael Marino.
Present.
Michael Perlis. Paul Rangel.
Yes.
Damaris Reyes. Richard Robiak.
Yes.
Tomas Rosa.
Yes.
Robin Chattel.
Yes.
Heidi Schmidt.
Yes.
Larissa Schamberg.
Yes.
Anisha Stephen. Sandra Strother. Daniel Zanel.
Yes.
Josephine Velez.
Yes.
Troy Velez.
Yes.
Rodney Washington.
Yes.
Kathleen Webster.
Yes.
Jackie Wong. Ricky Wong.
Yes.
Thank you, Paul.
Can you call out Anisha again? She didn't unmute.
Here. I'm here. I didn't unmute in time. I'm sorry.
Right, thank you. All right, so we'll move forward with my report. Like I said, once again, I apologize. My camera's not doing too well. It won't let me share my video. As the Borough President's Office already mentioned, we're virtual until June 8th. After that, we'll be in a hybrid format. We'll see how that works out from a logistics standpoint, from being in a building and having Zoom operating. It was difficult enough with just the executive committee meeting. It would be very difficult to try that out with a full board meeting. We will figure things out over the next several weeks, and hopefully we'll have a good solution in place. Also, as the Borough President's Office mentioned, we are still awaiting new members and it's been delayed a little bit. I know people are anxious whether if they have reapplied, if they are coming back, and if the new members as well who are probably waiting to hear back as to know if they will be a part of this board. Once that happens, I think we can figure out some other things from there. The last thing I'm going to mention about in my report tonight is Susan sent out the email earlier, but we are co-hosting a cannabis forum and how it relates to our neighborhoods. CB1, CB2, CB3, CB4, along with the Borough President's Office, is hosting this event on Thursday, April 28th at 7 p.m. At 18 Bleecker Street, the Sheen Center. To get tickets to the event, there is a link in that email. Some of you may have seen the posting already. This is CB2's running the show. We are co-sponsoring it. I will be there on Thursday night to be a part of it and to hear what's being said. I know there's a lot of people who will be presenting. So if you have any interest in that, please let me know via email and sign up on the link as well. And I hope to see some of you there. Like I said, we are, if the link isn't working, I will figure something out and send it out. Laura, thank you. We also have been invited to other events that we would like to table at. I will shoot an email to the entire board in the next couple of days as to whether or not you would like to be a part of it. I will send all that information out sooner than later. I'm going to wrap up my report right now, and I will come back with some other issues in the executive committee report, but I will move over to the district manager and her report right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and I'll be quick. The agenda will be posted for May, will be posted Thursday morning. SYEP, the Summer Youth Employment Program, has the deadline to apply for that has been extended to May 6th. And this year, there's been a lot more money put into it. In previous years, about 50% of the applicants were turned away. There's a lot more opportunity for applications this year. Starting as the weather gets warm, I'm starting to get the complaints about loud music. Some of it from businesses with open doors, which is generally against stipulation. In the East Village area, a lot of it is rooftops, which is very, very difficult to deal with. Some of the businesses are still having outdoor music, which is 100% illegal, and they know it, but it's hard to get enforcement on this, but there is enforcement on that this year. And we have a lot of abandoned open restaurant sheds. A shed is considered abandoned if it's not used for 30 days. Some of them are getting really ratty looking. We are taking, if you want to report them, taking lists. I'm afraid it's going to take practically years because a lot of the owners don't properly take them down. So it happens that DOT has to take them down at our expense, and they just get on a list that takes many, many months. The mayor released his executive budget today, which Carlina referred to. So we will be getting new responses to our budget requests. There is more money being put into many of the capital, or particularly the expense requests that we put in. So as soon as we get the executive budget response, I will let everyone know and post it on the website so you could see the responses to your committee. And that's it, unless there's questions. Oh, one more thing. There's a lot of commercial events now. They're called production events, and there are stores having opening events or celebrations. Please, if there are problems, please let me know even afterward, because I can attach comments and complaints to the application even after the fact, which will be considered next year. And that's it, unless there's questions.
May had her hand up. May, do you still have your hand up or no?
No, I sort of heard you wrong. I thought you said it was a candidates forum as in a political candidates forum, but I saw the email. I heard the wrong word. It's a totally different topic. The
you're
event that you were
referring to
talking about.
Paul.
Huh?
You're referring
Yeah,
to-
I'm talking to Paul. I'm sorry. This is about the event he announced on Thursday, but it's totally different. So
Slightly
no
different,
questions.
May. Slightly different. Thank
Okay.
you. Any other questions? Any questions? All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go into our executive committee report. So attendance was discussed at executive committee. We are going to send 3 letters out. I don't believe Tariq is on, second vice chair. We are sending 3 letters out to board members, ask them to how we can assist and help them in improving their attendance. And they will have 3 months to rectify those issues. So we are sending 3 letters out. As an aside and something separate, and I didn't want to wait for the parks report to address it. As you saw today, there was a couple of, I guess, potential Zoom bombs that were going to happen. I understand and know that at the parks meeting a couple of weeks ago, there was, I guess, a little bit more than Zoom bombing. A little more ordinary, not the ordinary Zoom bomb, whatever, and then just kick a person out. It was extremely targeted. Racial slurs were used, death threats, and a lot of stuff in the chat that was terrible, for lack of a better phrase. I know some Parks Committee members are on or may have saw it. I want to thank Michael for trying to handle that situation as best as he possibly could in stopping one meeting and starting another. I know it was clearly a very difficult and tough situation, and we're still investigating and trying to get all the information possible. I know it was very difficult. I want to apologize to Trevor, our Parks Chair, for everything he went through that night and the messages that were sent to him. It was disgusting. It was rough. There's no way to describe it, and I'm going to address that a little bit more in a second. Michael, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Paul, I was just wondering if you wanted me to offer some context as to what happened so that other facilitators can be aware, or do you want to do that privately?
I'm going to do some of that privately. I appreciate that. What I'm going to say to the full board tonight is the next parks meeting, you will have to register for the meeting. As you know, for some Zoom meetings, you do have to register ahead of time to get a link to go to the meeting. This will be the same format, and the parks meeting will be in a webinar format similar to our executive committee and our full board meeting here tonight. We will be going to that format for just the parks committee. Other community boards, particularly CB2, does the same thing. They do the registration for a meeting. I've seen other boards have done it to get a link to access that meeting. In terms of context, there's just a lot of things going on. Thank you, Michael, for offering, but anybody who wants to speak privately about that, I will. But it was just a bad day, and I thank you, Michael, for handling that as best as you possibly could. And Trevor, once again, sorry for everything that you had to go through that night. That is it for me on the executive committee meeting report. Olympia, you have your hand up for me. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you. So one question that I have is, when we do these meetings in webinar form, I noticed that only at CB3, I do a lot of Zooms, but only here we have this discrepancy where the people who are like public commentators cannot see us or things like that. Is there something we can do to improve that? And then, I don't know what happened at the parks meeting, but it sounds horrible. But at the same time, I just want us to be aware, because CB3 has already a bad reputation in terms of inclusion, etc. to find ways where in some way, when the public cannot say anything on chat, when they do the public statement, we never address their comments. Like we need as a public body to somehow make them feel that we hear them, you know what I mean? Or that they can participate better. I don't have specific ideas, but I just wanted to raise these as we move into webinar, think of better ways, maybe keeping open the channel for like that not everybody can see the chat, but someone can receive comments, not the harassment ones, but the meaningful ones or something like that.
I completely understand. There's no great answer to these Zoom issues, and this is an immediate kind of band-aid to what happened a couple of weeks ago. I am open to hearing all suggestions, and Olympia, you and I have spoken privately in the past. We can address a lot of that offline as well. Thank you. I see one more hand. Josie, go ahead.
Hi, Paul, don't we usually get our own personal sign-on when we're on the
For
park?
full board. For
Trevor.
full board. Full board. you-
Only for full board. I thought we got it for parks also.
Your committee chair may send the link to the Zoom meeting in an email, but as far as something from Zoom, like we all receive the, oh, it's 1 hour away email from Zoom, right? That's for full board and executive committee only. Anything else is probably your committee chair may be sending you the link to the meeting.
I'm confusing. It's the board meeting at Gouverneur that I get a personal link, and when I can't share it with anyone, because then it'll have my name only. That's what
Right.
Okay.
That allows you to be a panelist. Most
I see. We can't do that for parks?
we're going to try it for parks
Okay,
next month.
great.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. I know that's a tough situation to address, but that's what we're going to try out for next month. Okay, so move forward and go to May and Human Services.
Okay, hi everyone. So, well, we met last month and we have one reso for you to vote on. It is a letter in response to Council Member Eric Botcher's 8-point plan to address mental health in New York City. It's a very good plan that we're saying that we're supporting, but we have additional more to add, particularly from the viewpoint of Community Board 3. You can see it in the letter. It's in track changes format because after the meeting, we had some additional like grammatical changes to make it more clear and make the language flow smoother. But there's no other like there's no substantive change. And for you committee members, you received this also, so you just turn off the track changes. I mean, you can see it more smoothly, more clearly. Are there any questions?
There's a hand up, Lisa Kaplan. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah,
Lisa?
I guess, I'm sorry, I didn't have a lot of time to really do this, but you're asking us to approve the 8 points as well as your comments, but we don't have the 8 points. So maybe you could summarize them at least.
Should I you want me to summarize them now or
if
send you a
could,
link?
Why don't you
to it?
send us a link? That would be good. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, I know it's somewhere on the website. I'll look for the link, and should I put it in the chat and maybe
we don't have the chat.
Larissa could pass it around. Does that work for you?
May,
yeah.
May, if you're able to find the link, you can put it in the chat. That's fine.
Okay, great.
Okay, I will look for it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other questions for May? David Adams, is your hand up for May?
If you go to the CB3 website and look on tonight's agenda, you can see them. All the changes are there.
It's not the changes I'm asking for, it's the 8 points itself. We're approving both the changes and the and
Yeah.
the actual document.
Yeah, the
From
original
that, we don't
8-point
have.
plan, right, the original plan. So I will, yeah, you guys can, yeah, I'll look for it and pass it in the
Go
chat.
ahead, May. Go ahead. Find the link and put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're gonna move forward after that. SLA, Michelle.
Thanks, Paul. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We had 7 applications this month. We wrote stipulations for all of them. They were all signed. Nothing really of note, so let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Deborah Glass, go ahead.
I just had a quick question. I don't know if I missed it, but on item number 9, one of the whereases, I guess I can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The 12th whereas, there's mention of a previous stipulation that the alley entrance was to be accessible only to hotel guests using a card key. So is that something that I guess I didn't see it mentioned in the current set of stipulations? Was that just something that was gone by the wayside, or I was just curious about how that was addressed?
Sure. Yeah, we discussed it for probably 45 minutes in committee, and the committee decided to not include that exact stipulation in the new resolution.
Any feedback why? I guess it sounds like it was something that the folks in the immediate neighborhood were curious about. I'm just curious. Is there a reason why it didn't feel like something that you wanted to push for?
We felt like it was a reasonable compromise to allow the hotel, and I'm speaking if the committee wants to add anything in, but this was basically our discussion. We felt it was a reasonable compromise to allow the hotel guests to use, or people going to the hotel to use that alleyway as an entrance, but not as an exit.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I see one more hand, Daniel Tano. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm in support of SLA number 8. I think it's really great business and responsible, and but I don't know why. I'm wondering why their stipulations do not have something about their outdoor seating in it. They do have outdoor seating. Are they not gonna allow alcohol at all outside?
It's the third stipulation. Its hours of operation for its rear yard will be 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. all days.
But they have street seating as well at that location.
So wait, are you asking about the backyard or about the street seating?
Sorry, about the street seating.
Oh, so actually, we don't always include every stipulation in the written resolution. So in the stipulation form that the applicant signed, we have our standard stipulation that it will close any outdoor usages allowed by open restaurants, in parentheses, beyond the backyard, which must be closed by 9 p.m. by 10 p.m. and not have speakers or televisions.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure.
No problem.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions from Michelle? Okay, thank you. If anybody wants to take a look, the 8-point plan is in the chat. Thank you, May. Olympia, question?
Yeah, quick question. I read quickly the 8-point plan and I noticed only one thing, because this is Eric Bocher and he's on the west side. He's trying for the expansion of certain services that are now happening only in northern Manhattan, only to the west side of Manhattan. So I guess if we want them on the east side, we should make him add that or add it into Arezzo.
This is for all of New York City.
The 8 points?
Yes.
Yeah, but his point number 2 is called immediately dispatch mobile mental health crisis response teams on the west side in 2020. And it explains how this is happening currently only in Northern Manhattan, and he wants it expanded to the west side. Did I understand this incorrectly, Susan?
No, I think I had forgotten that he put that point in. You're right.
So May, do you think your committee actually meant to have these services on the east side too?
We didn't talk about it, that particular thing. Yeah, they did have something in East Harlem. I mean, up, I think it was Washington Heights and East Harlem, and it was sort of like a pilot project. Last year we knew about it. It was a pilot project because it was just a pilot and there wasn't a lot of information about the results. We didn't, like during a district needs or budget priorities, we didn't ask for it because we were trying to find out more. But yeah, so we just didn't talk about it. It didn't like come up to mind. I mean, we read the 8-point plan and we talked to them about it, but the things that we mentioned in our letter are the things that came to mind. I mean, each committee member actually contributed something to that letter. So that's all I have to say. So I'm not saying that program is a bad program or not worth having, but we just didn't talk about it. And you know, the purpose of the letter is to sort of we're going to send it to him, and as it says, I think at the end of the letter, you know, we look forward to working with you more. So we could just because it's in this letter now doesn't, if we find out more about this and it's like the program you're talking about, and if we like really want it on the east side or in our area, we can still ask for it. I mean, you know, budget priorities is coming up, so maybe, you know, it can be done there too if we know more about the program.
It was 26 last year.
What?
It was priority 26 last year, so it got.
Yeah, right. It was last year was last because we knew so little about it. That's why. That's one of the reasons why. I mean, it sounded good, but we didn't know enough to put it up.
Okay, thank you, May. Deborah, questions for May or for SLA?
It's just a comment. In looking at the 8-point plan, item 2, it does look like that header immediately dispatch, blah, blah, blah on the west side. But the second paragraph underneath that point is this program should be accelerated and expanded to other neighborhoods, including those in Council District 3. So I think we just need to have him, we need to just look at fixing that title.
Council District 3 is different from Community District 3.
Oh, well, my bad. Shows you what I know. Thanks.
So he's talking about his own city council district.
All right, thank you. Okay, so that's it for questions for May and for Michelle, and we're gonna move on to the next item. Landmarks didn't meet. Land use, Jackie's not on. Is Linda, you're gonna do his report really quick?
Right, Jackie is out of town. Yes, the main thing on the land use agenda was approval of a piece of work that's been going on for several meetings in a row. We had an urban fellow who did a marvelous job of developing a questionnaire, sort of a green buildings questionnaire that we're going to ask developers when they come to us with a proposal. We already had one for housing, and we decided to combine the two. You can actually read the whole thing. I don't suggest you read it right now. At the end of these minutes, we voted informally to accept that. I think it was unanimous, and to thank our urban fellow who has now gone on to better things, and Dominic Berg, who worked with her to bring this about.
All right, any questions for Linda? Thank you, Linda, I appreciate that. Transportation. David?
Yes, are there any questions?
Yeah, let's see.
Thank you. Doesn't seem like there's any questions. All right, thank you. Economic development did not meet, but economic development will meet in May. Parks, who's gonna do, is Trevor still on? I guess I thought it was gonna be, Kay, are you gonna do the report?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thanks, Paul. We had no resolutions, but a general construction update, and I think it's pretty clear that what we're asking for is to have people coming who could answer the questions that we need to have answers. And again, I want to thank the council member for helping us with that. I also want to thank Michael Marino, for whom this is his last Parks meeting, and I want to thank him for ensuring that the park committee meetings ran well and that Trevor was well supported. And I'll add also that his work as a community park leader has never been done better, with more integrity. So we will really miss him. I want to thank you, Paul, for your words about the Zoom attack. I do want to say one of the things that's true of this board is that we care deeply about the issues here, and that's a good thing. And we all understand being angry and disappointed and what it feels like to lose a fight. I don't assume any of this came from the people who've been responsibly engaged in a frankly contentious decision on issues that come before the committee. But I think it's a reminder to all of us, and I include myself, to bear in mind our own rhetoric, that targeting anyone is unacceptable, but targeting a Black man who has spent countless hours trying to get this project right and other projects right, despite having very little power to change much. It was stupid and it was shitty, and it's beneath us as a community. Thank you. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kay. I know Trevor had to sign off for tonight. There's no resolutions. I don't think there's any questions. All right, going back to May for personnel. Go ahead.
Oh, hi there. So my report is about the assistant district manager position. So as you know, the position is empty, so we're looking to fill the position. And the personal task force conducts the second round interviews. The first rounds are conducted by the staff. So we interviewed somebody, and we want to recommend this person and recommend to the resolution is to recommend this person and to authorize the district manager to make the offer to the person. The offer hasn't been made, so of course we don't, it hasn't been accepted. But that's where the resolution is about.
Yep. Thank you, May.
Are there any questions? Yeah.
Are there any questions for May? Just for clarification purposes, personnel met, they authorized the DM to make an offer for the ADM position. All right. That is it in terms of committee reports. Is there any old business? No, new business? No, that's 0 for 2. Okay, so we're gonna go and do the final roll call. Sandra, you have your hand up? No?
Yes, I just would like to know, has any decision been made on the NYCHA Section 8 committee? Is it going to land use?
I haven't made a decision yet, Sandra. Thank you.
Is it going to be meeting anytime soon?
Their committee meeting is not scheduled for this month.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We can have a conversation offline about that. Thank you. All right. And no more new business. So we'll go with the final roll call vote. Larissa, are you doing it?
I've got it. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Sure. David Adams,
Yes.
Euron Altman,
Yes.
Jesse Beck, Lee Berman,
Yes, except no on SLA items 3, 7, 8, and 9. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, Carlin Chan,
Yes.
Jonathan Chu, David Crane, David Crane.
I think he's frozen.
He's frozen.
Yeah, he looks frozen.
Sorry, I was frozen as well. I'm here,
Oh.
yes.
Oh, sorry, Jesse, you're also here? Sorry.
Yes, sorry about that.
No worries, I'll update you to yes, thank you. Okay, Ken. He's frozen. I'll come back to David. Eric Diaz is absent. Tariq Darrell,
He's absent as well.
absent, oh yes. Alistair Kanamakas,
Yes.
yes. Jamie Felber.
Yep.
Shirley- Oh, yes, sorry.
I'm here, just bad with computers.
Gotcha, okay, so yes. Shirley Fennessy?
Yes.
Thank you. Ryan Gilliam?
Yes.
Deborah Glass?
Yep.
Andrea Gordillo?
Yes.
Okay, Caniel Hernandez?
Yes.
Thank you. Herman Hewitt?
Yes.
Trevor Holland?
He's out.
Out. Okay, thank you. Linda Jones?
Yes.
Valentina Jones?
Yes.
Lisa Kaplan?
Yes, on everything but personnel, abstain.
Olympia Kazi?
Yes.
Jeanette Kim? Jeanette? Michelle Cooper Smith?
Yes.
Maylee?
Yes.
Wendy Lee?
Yes.
Alicia Lewis Coleman?
Yes.
David Louie? David? Oops. Laura Lugo? I see yes in the chat. You frozen? Yes.
She's having technical.
Yes, yes, she's got to, I see her yes in the chat. No worries. Ellen Luo?
Can you recall Jeanette Kim?
Jeanette Kim?
Sorry, yes.
Yes, we have you. Michael Marino? Let's go on. Michael Perlis?
No, absent.
Sorry, just trying to check the chat as well. Paul Ringel?
Yes.
Damaris Reyes?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I got you. Thank you.
Oh,
so much.
good. I've been having technical issues all night. Sorry.
No worries. Okay, I think all our computers are just tired of Zoom meetings.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Richard Ropiak?
Yes.
Thomas Rosa?
Yes.
Robin Chattel?
Yes.
Heidi Schmidt?
Yes.
Clarissa Schoenberg, yes. Anisha Stevens?
Yes.
Sandra Strother?
Yes, and I was also frozen for the first roll call.
Okay, I'll update you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Tano?
Yes.
Thank you. Josephine Velez?
Yes.
Troy Velez?
Yes.
Rodney Washington?
Yes.
Kathleen Webster?
Yes, but abstain on SLA 9.
Thank you. Jackie Wong is absent. Ricky Wong?
Yes.
And that's the roll call, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Oh,
Okay,
hey,
Oh, David, yes.
Yeah,
coming
call him
back to
back.
you. Yay, David. Got it, snuck it in the last minute. I got you. Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Welcome back, David. All right, thank you, everyone. I know today was a little bit tough, but we're still done at 8:43. So have a good night, everyone, and we are adjourned.
Good night. Feel better, Paul.
Thank you, thank you.
Bye.
Hey, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.
Night.